What's going on, everybody, and welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. It's been a while since we've checked in here, but I'm thinking we're going to fire it back up now that the NFL fantasy season, of course, is over. We still have the Super Bowl yet to go between the Chiefs and the 49ers, but a lot of rookie draft excitement for Dynasty leagues coming up because the Sleeper app, as you see there on my screen, has added the rookie class, the incoming rookies and draft eligible players to the Sleeper platform. We're waiting on the updates to ADP is the reason that we're not able to do any full Dynasty startup mock drafts just yet on the channel. Because if you look here, it's ADP for Caleb Williams, who is ranked here as the highest draft eligible rookie player on the platform. I've got it set to rookies only, but the ADP is listed at 901 for Caleb Williams. And obviously, if you were doing a startup draft, that certainly would not be the case. Caleb Williams would not be 901 ADP. So I think there just needs to be a number of real drafts and mock drafts that are run on the Sleeper platform before we'll be able to do that. But after that, you can expect a lot of Dynasty startup content for the channel because the off season and kind of leading into the months before summer and redraft season really kicks off is all about Dynasty formats. And so that's kind of what we're going to be leaning into on this channel. We'll try to explore. And then, just like we did last year, we're going to have a ton of redraft content starting up in the summer where we'll be doing hopefully multiple mock drafts every day once the calendar turns to July or so. But for now, I decided we would start off and see what the Sleeper platform's natural ADP is for some of these rookies. This is obviously pre-NFL draft, so we don't know where these guys are going to end up, but that doesn't stop the hardcore Dynasty players from getting into the mix this early on in the calendar, even before the Super Bowl for the previous season takes place. So that's the type of content you're going to see from this channel. We would love to. The goal is to get us to 1,000 subscribers before the summer, and if you enjoyed the content that we did here last summer, you're certainly going to enjoy what we have coming for the 2024 NFL season. But let's just go ahead here on Sleeper. I'm going to put myself at the number 9 draft position on the Sleeper platform, realizing now that I may need to sort of adjust the image on the screen because we're not getting the full 12 teams. I'm number 9 there. 10, 11 is kind of hanging off the screen. So I'll adjust that here like so with that slight adjustment, and hopefully that allows us to see the screen a little bit better. We'll continue to fine-tune with the images and things we show on the screen, but let's go ahead and get started. We'll turn the volume on just so that I know when it's my turn to pick. Make sure to get that going, and we'll go ahead and start this draft. We're ready to go. We're going to pick from the 9 position here and just kind of take a look at the very beginning. This is a superflex format, Dynasty format. We're going to do 4-round rookie draft, which I think is pretty standard for a lot of leagues, and just kind of see where the chips fall on that. We've got 2 minutes on our clock, but we want to talk about some of the picks that were made beginning in picks 1 through 8. Caleb Williams going off the board first. That's going to be, I think, a decision for a lot of folks because you see there at 1.2 goes Marvin Harrison Jr., a generational wide receiver prospect and a guy that lots of people are going to be eager to get in their fantasy leagues. I think in redraft, he's going to be a huge name right off the bat as a rookie, almost regardless of where he lands in terms of NFL team. This is a guy that's going to go off the NFL draft board in the first 5 or 10 picks. Very well could be as early as the 1-1. I mean, if the Chicago Bears decide to move forward with Justin Fields, I could see them just saying, no, we're not trading out of that slot. We're taking Marvin Harrison Jr., we're pairing him with DJ Moore and giving Justin Fields all the weapons that he might need to succeed in the NFL. We're going to move forward that way. As of this time on January 31st, we obviously don't know the plan there yet, but I'll be curious to see how many leagues Marvin Harrison actually goes 1-1 ahead of Caleb Williams or ahead of Drake May, the quarterback that we see go at number 3. Jayden Daniels is my sleeper. I have said throughout the process, as we think about dynasty leagues and moving toward the NFL draft, how is the guy who wins the Heisman Trophy with LSU, with one of the best quarterback seasons we've ever seen in college football? I mean, he was electric for an LSU team that just didn't have a defense, honestly, is why they didn't win the national championship. How does Jayden Daniels not get more love for NFL, real-life football, and for fantasy? I think he's going to start to, and I wouldn't be surprised to see with his rushing upside him go before Drake May when it honestly gets time to do the real NFL draft. We're going to pause the draft board because I haven't looked ahead to what I want to do with my pick. But looking, we want to look at the all-encompassing board because I know not everybody's going to be picking from the number 9. So I want to kind of talk through the positions, at least in the first round, in a little bit more detail before we just kind of start running through our decisions with our own picks. Malik Neighbors goes number 5, the second wide receiver off the board. Interesting that we see no running backs going in the first 8 picks. I think that's going to be pretty standard, especially before the NFL draft. Maybe if there's a running back prospect that people are hot to trot for that ends up landing in a really good situation in the NFL, that's where maybe you see a guy start to rise up the board. But there may not be but one or two, if any, running backs in the first round of your rookie drafts, at least pre-NFL draft, before people can get excited about potential landing spots for running back prospects. And I do have this sorted by superflex. For the next video, maybe I'll decide to do that a little bit differently so that we can see position by position who some of the top names are. But you can even look right here on the draft board leading in: Brian Thomas, Bo Nix, McCarthy. It's just quarterbacks and wide receivers. You don't find the first running back until you get to, looks like Blake Corum, 15, 16 names down the board. But in terms of the first 8 picks, Brock Bowers is going to be a guy that I think a lot of folks will be excited about at the tight end position, especially after seeing the success in the first year for a guy like Sam Laporta with the Lions. Laporta was not going that high in rookie drafts, and he was not at the time considered as robust and profitable of a prospect as certainly Brock Bowers is at tight end. So I think that early success for tight ends and rookie tight ends specifically this past season in the NFL is going to lead to people taking that plunge on Brock Bowers in a way that they did with Kyle Pitts a few years ago. And obviously, the offensive scheme and situation in Atlanta has made it so Kyle Pitts has not necessarily gotten the type of career to date that people thought he could coming out, but I don't think that's going to scare people off of Brock Bowers, who is going to be a blue chip prospect for fantasy, again, almost regardless of where he lands. The decision between Neighbors and Bowers will be interesting for some. Could Rome Odunze, you see him go at number 7 here, could he end up going before a Neighbors or a Bowers? I certainly think that could end up being possible. Personally, just to kind of give my 2 cents before we get into the NFL draft, right now I'm Daniels over Drake May. I think that Jayden Daniels is going to make it in the NFL level. The electricity that pulses through that guy's veins and the ability he could bring for fantasy football, I think is tremendous. I'm a believer in him. If he lands in the right spot to get a chance right away, I think he can be really successful. It's not to say that I'm not into Drake May, but we know in fantasy football these days, the rushing upside is so critical to be able to establish not only a floor for your guy, but even a higher ceiling, like the guys of Lamar Jackson's ilk and Josh Allen's ilk. So for me, Jayden Daniels is a guy that I would take over Drake May. I would not take him over Marvin Harrison. I think Marvin Harrison is going to be fantastic. And would I take him over Caleb Williams? I think it's not a foregone conclusion for me that Caleb Williams is the QB1 in this fantasy draft class. It's going to depend on maybe where he lands and where Jayden Daniels lands, and I'll probably decide between the two of them. I could see myself going Marvin Harrison 1-1, though. I don't think that's crazy, especially if in your league you have a pretty good situation at quarterback. Maybe you got the first overall draft pick because you don't have the depth at the other positions, but you feel like you went in on a quarterback, and maybe you got a Jordan Love that's certainly suitable for one of your quarterback starting spots for a long time. I could see taking Marvin Harrison in that situation. Odunze, I think, is a pretty good player there at number 7. And number 8, we get the Oregon receiver, Troy Franklin. I clicked on the thing to try and see if there was any info about him, but not just yet. It's a little too early in the process. So that leaves us with the pick at number 9. And we'll look at the board. You've got Brian Thomas, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Keon Coleman, and a couple of Texas receivers, Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. I think I'm going to take A.D. Mitchell because I'm looking for just athleticism and upside. Again, this is early. I don't like the idea of doing a draft this early in the process because a lot is going to change with the NFL draft. But people like doing it, and so we wanted to kind of at least familiarize ourselves with some of the names that are going high in these rookie drafts, and then maybe be able to react accordingly when the NFL draft comes around later this spring. J.J. McCarthy goes in the first round of this rookie draft. Is he going to be a first-round NFL pick? I think if he is, then you'll see him go in the first round of Dynasty startup drafts. Not startup drafts, but rookie drafts that are super flex in nature, because the upside to have a starting quarterback beginning his career in the NFL is really tantalizing. So if the NFL respects J.J. McCarthy as a first-round pick, I think that will force fantasy drafters to do so as well. Right now, that feels like maybe a little bit of a reach, but again, I think his draft capital in the real NFL draft is going to go a long way toward determining how people are going to treat him in fantasy. Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, we see go off the board. Bo Nix goes off the board. Where does he land in the NFL draft? You talk about rushing upside. Bo Nix certainly is somebody who has that. And then we see the run on running backs begin. And I'm kind of surprised to see that it's Trey Benson and not Blake Corum that goes with the first pick at running back. For me, I'm thinking I would really like Blake Corum Braden Allen, Jonathan Brooks, you see go thereafter. Michael Penix checking in at 2.7. So a lot of quarterbacks that people are maybe excited about and going to be anxious to see what they do or where they go, rather, in the NFL draft. But within the first, 19 picks or so, we see 6 quarterbacks off the board. So that's a very interesting commentary on what this quarterback class could look like. Now we're looking down 30 seconds to go before our pick. Devontae Walker, Malachi Corley, Will Shipley, Bucky Irving, and Jalen Polk. See, this is kind of where we get into a spot. I like Audric Estime as well, but we're kind of in a position right now where it's hard to trust running backs, and you can see that guys like Devon Achane from last year are going to be drafted kind of in the second round, maybe earlier than this spot. But ultimately, you just don't necessarily know that you're going to be able to hit on those guys. I kind of like Jalen Polk, receiver out of Washington. It was either between him or Xavier Legette for me. And a lot of people with Legette, you end up seeing him go there at the 3.6. A lot of people with Xavier Legette, I think, were excited about the size, listed at like 6'3". But then at the Senior Bowl was measured like shorter than 6'1". And so I think that might have an impact on where he goes in the NFL draft. But certainly a really talented player out of South Carolina. Looking at some of the other guys that went before our last pick, I'm reminded that in a real rookie draft, I may not be able to take Jalen Polk where I took him, especially if I'm drafting from the 9, because I don't think Ladd McConkey is going to last until the 3.9, and that is a guy that I have made the decision I want to leave my rookie draft with, and I think he's going to pick up a lot of steam between now and when you actually do your rookie drafts. I think this guy's going to be a real force at the next level, and coming out of Georgia, I just feel like he's a guy that people are going to underestimate a little bit coming in, and he's going to earn his opportunities. Ladd McConkey is someone I want to leave with, so I'm not even going to think too much about it. Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler were 2 quarterbacks that went earlier in the 3rd round. Again, that's all going to depend upon their real-life draft capital in terms of how they are treated for fantasy purposes. And then you just see a bunch of tight ends go off the board in round 3 and 4. I think that's probably a result of Sleeper just not being entirely ready for rookie draft season just yet, and they're going to have to work on their algorithms. Because, again, right now I'm drafting against the computer. So will there really be that many? Probably not. We do see Jordan Travis as another QB off the board in the 3rd round. So quarterback-wise, just to kind of give you an idea of maybe what to expect in the early going of the calendar here for fantasy rookie drafts. 4 quarterbacks in round 1, 2 in round 2, and 3 in round 3. That is a good 9 quarterbacks off the board before you even take the turn into round 4 in a 2-quarterback super flex format, and we lose the thing there. Again, this is a little bit buggy right now for Sleeper. I was trying to click on the quarterback taken in the 3rd or in the 4th round there and didn't get a chance to do that, but that's okay. We're going to make our pick to kind of wrap this thing up. Just a quick video to give you guys an idea of what we're looking at. I like guys like Jalen McMillan, Roman Wilson, also interesting. Brendan Rice may be the guy that I take with this pick. And again, there are some things that this system is going to have to work on for sure, because I see here that Theo Weiss, where'd he go? I just lost him. Theo Weiss out of Missouri there he is. He's listed at 603 right here. Is listed. He's coming back to Missouri this next year. He's not even going to be in the NFL draft pool. So Sleeper's going to have to work on some of that, which is, again, nobody should be really drafting their real leagues this early. But if you're doing mock drafts, that could be certainly a fun way to learn. Ricky Pearsall is an explosive player as well out of Florida, I believe. So I'm taking Brendan Rice with this, a senior, but he's got the bloodlines, right? So I think there's a lot to like about Brendan Rice potentially in this spot. The one name that I'm going to mention that I will be very curious to see what happens with him. I am a Missouri guy, and Cody Schrader lit the SEC on fire this year as a super senior, but he was invited to the Senior Bowl. He's impressing people out there. This guy should get drafted, and I hope that people sleep on him when it comes to fantasy rookie drafts, because I will be taking the Mizzou guy, Cody Schrader, who has absolutely outdone expectations at every stage of his career. But for now, this is going to be the fantasy rookie draft that we did. Let me know whose name was not taken in these 4 rounds that you think people should be paying attention to when it comes to rookie drafts. Let me know that in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe if you enjoy this content, and we will see you soon for more fantasy football content on the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. Peace.